Welcome into Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott, high atop an early Friday morning, live from UNT campus. And for one reason and one reason only, the North Texas Mean Green take on South Florida in the biggest game in school history. Here with me to talk about it is Josh Ortega, Huston Hall, Matthew McDowell. Fellas, it's a big one tonight. It's the biggest game of all games. We can't talk about it just yet, but it's hard not to. North Texas takes on South Florida, the blackout two-night Friday night game, standalone on ESPN. What do you think about it?
It's incredible. We have a sold-out crowd tonight. It's going to be absolutely rocking in DATCU tonight.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I think I saw it's the first sellout since DATCU was built. You got the blackout units as well, Friday night lights. You know, it's an exciting game for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
I'm ready to storm the field. I don't know about that. I mean, I would assume everyone here is, completely behind UNT and that we're all cheering them on and we all think they're going to win.
Of course, we're all cheering them on.
Yeah.
Not all of us think they could win.
All
Hey,
right.
it happens, Is the field storming in play?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's in play.
I think it's in
Going
play.
6-0, being ranked for the first time in since our grandparents were born. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I think it's in play. Let's do kind of a washover of all of the season so far. Let's do a state of the program. Let's take a look at how things have gone. We're coming off the bye week. We had South Alabama before that. We win. It wasn't the prettiest game. Still, they take down the Jaguars at DATCU. Speaking of, attendance was a problem for the South Alabama game. What do you make of all that? Because it's an undefeated team. You're hosting an inferior opponent that you should, run the score up on, and no one's there to watch. So what's up with that?
I think it's just, part of it is the kickoff, right? 11 a.m. kickoff is tough. You're playing a South Alabama team that's, you got to have some enticing. Obviously, this offense is enticing. This team is enticing. But when you're playing a team like South Alabama, it's not as enticing for somebody to kind of get up in the morning, get there at 11 a.m. and everything like that. Look, if it was a 2:30 game, I think you'd have better attendance. But look at the game like tonight. Mm-hmm. We have a ranked South Florida coming in here. We're sold out. I mean, clearly the opponent makes a difference here.
I think that it was a loud talking point during the week. I think it'll all be silenced if North Texas wins today. I think that you won't even have to, and no one is going to talk about the attendance of the South Alabama game anymore if UNT handles business tonight. Let's talk some positives. Let's talk some negatives about what's happened so far. All started off, an absolute positive has been Drew Mestemaker, the kid from Vandergrift, the kid from Austin, comes in and starts against the bowl game, or in the bowl game against Texas State last year, completely balls out, throws for over 400, rushes for nearly 100. They don't get the win, but you know that you have a guy going into the season, and he's been nothing short of amazing. And he's been a mold of consistency, throwing for 11 touchdowns with 0 interceptions on the season, one of only 3 Power 5 quarterbacks to still hold that mark. Give me some positives, Matthew. I'll start with you that you've seen from this North Texas team this season.
I've seen a lot of positives. I mean, I'll start on the ground game. I'm a former offensive lineman. I got to give the O-line love. I know a couple weeks ago, I don't know what the updated PFF rankings are, but they're about top 10 in rushing production. The pass game has been great. They've allowed a couple sacks, especially against Western Michigan. It wasn't pretty, but I thought they've held up pretty well. They've given Mestemaker time, especially on the rollout, the play or the run pass option, all that stuff. They've given them time to run, and we've seen guys like McKenzie McGill and Caleb Hawkins. McGill's averaging 5 yards carry. Hawkins is averaging 7.3. I know those guys run hard, but to get those first 3 yards, it's got to be the O-line getting good push in there, and then yards after contact from there. But I got to give credit to O-line. They've done good, especially improvement from last season. We had a lot of guys transfer out. Mm-hmm. Our star freshman going to Kansas, Gabe Blair staying here, being the senior leader, and they've really rallied around that group, and I love what I see from them.
Yeah, Houston.
Well, I'm glad he touched upon the run game, and I'm kind of going to piggyback off of that because a couple of big stats that I found when I was doing some research over the team to this point. At this point in the season, we are 10th in red zone offense. We scored on 96.8% of our trips to the red zone, at least a field goal. Last season, we were 120th, because we're only scoring at all 75% of the time in the red zone. And a lot of that has to do with the run game, as he was talking about. Through last season, our top 2 rushers only had 15 touchdowns all season on the ground. That was Shane Porter and McKenzie McGill. Through 5 games this season, McKenzie McGill and Caleb Hawkins have already combined for 11. We're not even halfway through the season yet. Mm-hmm. So because that ground game, we're able to get in the red zone, able to cap drives off. You get down there and the field is shrunken a little bit. You can't always just throw it over the top when you get inside the red zone. So the big thing is, with the way that UNT is running the football, they're able to finish drives off, and that's part of the reason they're 5-0 right now.
One thing I also say, going off Houston, it's the run setting up the pass. Yeah,
absolutely.
Last year with Chandler Morris, it was just run, or not running gun, but it was just throwing the ball all the time. Eric Morris is a descendant from Mike Leach. That pass game 5 wide. It's like what you were saying a couple weeks ago, long handoffs, but the run now setting up the pass really opens up the game in the field for Drew Mestemaker, and one of the reasons why I feel like he's been so successful. Not to jump in there, but I liked what Houston said.
Yeah,
I agree.
Surprisingly.
Either way, I think that there was a lot of ifs or buts about this team kind of coming into the year. And, that's kind of all been settled. This team could be good if Drew Mestamaker was good. This defense could be really good if all the players they brought in and Skylar Cassidy had a really good unit and a good game plan going into games. We've seen this team be really good on both sides of the ball. They're currently leading. They're inside the top 50 in 8 different offensive categories throughout all of college football. They're in the top 50 in 4 different defensive category stats. Look, there's a lot of positives for this team, and I think that through 5 games, being 5-0, coming out of the bye, I think they're in a really nice spot to really make a run here.
Yeah. UNT's got a perfect record, but they're not quite a perfect team. There's a couple of things that they still need to work on, just like everyone else, of course. But we have to call it how it is. There are some negatives that we've got to talk about. One of those being, in my personal opinion, is stopping the quarterback run games. Teams throughout the season have really shredded the UNT defense with the quarterback run. Not always the design thing. Sometimes the coverage does their job. Defensive line doesn't stay gap sound. Quarterback takes off for a scamper. What are some other negatives that have hindered this UNT team from being even better than what they've already been?
I think also the pass rush. The pass rush has kind of been a little inconsistent these last few games, and they really haven't gotten to the quarterback. That's a big part of stopping offenses and forcing punts. For me, the pass rush, obviously with the run game, defense has not been that great. I think you want to see that kind of improve going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, we talk about how the defense has improved, but I'm not sure how it's improved from a fundamental standpoint. I think part of the reason that it looks a whole lot more improved is the ability to get takeaways, 11 takeaways at this point, 6 interceptions, 5 fumble recoveries. But like when we played Army, did we make them punt a single time? I thought we just kind of made them turn the ball over. We had 3 turnovers, 4 if you count the turnover on downs. I don't think the Army punter saw the field the entire game. So at times, if teams are really good at taking care of the ball, that's going to be an issue. I don't know if South Florida is that team. As we've seen, Byron Brown will throw the ball to you if you make him throw the ball in general. But moving forward, like when we play Navy, that could be an issue down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. And what Josh was saying about the pass rush, our sack leader, Kevion Huddleston, he's only got 2.5 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad if, the whole team is, rushing the passer and getting a lot of sacks. But we've got 10 sacks through 5 games. That's 1 sack per half of football. It's not very good.
No.
And some of those sacks were coming in multiple of those sacks were coming in games against, Lamar and Washington State, which is pretty low competition when you look at it compared to Army or Western Michigan or games that we had to go to overtime to win. So, I mean, it's also the discipline on the defense. We saw especially against Army, which is a little bit different because Army will run the ball 40 times and then throw it 2 or 3 times. But, our safeties and cornerbacks got really their eyes were in the backfield. They got deceived in on the play action. And then Army took us over the top and had a 60-yard touchdown that set up going into overtime. So it's also discipline on the defensive side of the ball, but I've liked it a lot compared to last year. I will say that, though.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming schedule that North Texas has. They get UTSA, Charlotte, Navy, UAB, Rice, and Temple to end things. Where does UNT trip up? Let's say they win tonight, okay? You're going to be undefeated. You're going to be 6-0. You're going to be ranked. Is there a spot where they trip up down the line? Because I think UTSA is a pretty solid team, but they've disappointed a little bit after they just lost to Texas State and Temple. Navy is going to be a team that's going to be a problem, as Josh had mentioned, with the run game stuff. But besides that, there's not a clear game where North Texas is going to be an underdog. I think they'll be favorited in every single game the rest of the way. So where does the slip-up come, if it comes at all?
I think versus UTSA. I think that or Navy, because say we win tonight, you go in probably ranked, right? Going in against a UTSA team that has been disappointing this season. You go into that game ranked as the favorite. That could easily be a trap game. And I think Navy after Charlotte, because Charlotte hasn't been that great at home. Navy's a tough one because especially you don't know where they're going to be, especially either in the polls or just in general what they're going to be. If they're still going to be very solid in 2 weeks, which they probably will, but you don't really know. So those two, I think, for me are the.
Yeah, do any of y'all see a slip-up happening in that schedule?
Well, I think maybe UTSA just because, like Josh said, if we win, we're going to be ranked, and as our biggest rival in the conference, they would love nothing more but to beat us on our homecoming while ranked in the top 25. So I think UTSA, and then of course Navy too is a possibility. But I think if there is a slip up, I think it's one or the other. Yeah. I don't think they drop both of those.
Yeah, Matthew.
I mean, when you talk about slip ups, I don't know if I would necessarily say UTSA or Navy would be a slip up. I mean, those teams are regarded as pretty good teams. I would argue, especially Navy, UTSA, not so much. But a real slip up that I could see happening in a trap game would be, let's say they get through all the schedule. Let's say they're 8-0, 9-0, and they got 2 or 3 away games to go versus Temple versus Rice. I could see them slipping up against Rice in Texas, in Houston. I mean, Rice is 3-3 right now. They're 1-2 in conference play, but teams they've lost to is Houston and Navy. They've lost to Navy by 8 points. That's a pretty close game in Houston. power four opponent. Wegmans look really good on the ground there. So, I mean, I think Rice is a little underrated over the entire scheme of college football right now. And when you talk about a slip-up, I could see that being a trap game and a slip-up for UNT. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, though.
Very briefly, I want to touch on, let's say UNT goes on a run, they end the season 10-2, 11-1, undefeated. There's going to be some guys calling for the head coach, Eric Morse. And not in a negative way, but in a positive way in the terms of he could go to a new location. Oklahoma State is the job that has recently opened up, and he has some ties to that program. Very quickly, Matthew, I know you want to talk about this. I'm going to go to you. What do you think about this? Is this a real possibility?
I think it's a real possibility. I mean, Oklahoma State, you heard about Gundy and some of the donors having disagreements. I mean, Oklahoma State, Big 12 football, when you think of it, I think of Brandon Whedon. I think of guys like that really airing the ball out under Mike Gundy. And you talk about a guy who's got an air raid offense, that's Eric Morris. He's developed guys like Cam Ward and more. I mean, Heisman winner, #1 overall pick in the draft, now starting for the Tennessee Titans. I could see that being a real possibility. And I wouldn't mind it. Shout out Micah and Emilio. I wouldn't mind him going up to Stillwater. So if he's going to leave, I wouldn't be totally upset with him going to Stillwater. But, you know.
Yeah. Well, coming up on the next block, we're going to take a look at the AP Top 25, break down why some of the teams are ranked where they are, coming up right after these breaks.
What does Talents do?
So I am the Vice President of External Relations for Talents. That means that I basically oversee all the external committees. Our external committees entail our Model A, it's a Mean Green Machine. So they bring it to football games especially, so every game it's kind of there, every home game. The Model A is like a symbol of UNC pride, and it's a big tradition that we are so lucky to uphold and maintain. When people look at it, they see it, and they're like, oh, that's the Mean Green Machine. There must be a game today or something to ramp up school spirit for basketball, softball, volleyball, any of those things. We have amazing teams, so we just want to show school spirit for them. Bonfire Committee, which is in charge of putting together the bonfire every year for homecoming. It's kind of just a whole semester-long process up until Build Week that we have to put together and oversee and make sure safety regulations are followed and risk management is taken care of. Cannon Crew, which oversees and takes care of the cannon. They fire it at games, they take it to special occasions.
Are you looking for a fun club with travel opportunities? Dive into the UNT Swim Club. Practicing Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Pole Recreation Center. We accept members at any skill level. For more information, reach out to us at unt.swimclub on Instagram.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. The AP Top 25 poll has come under some intense scrutiny from the public zeitgeist of college football. What is the AP poll really tracking? That's something that I think is an important thing to talk about. And it's because there's not a definitive set of rules that the AP voters have to follow. So I'm going to ask y'all, what do you think the top 25 rankings should value? Whoever wants to jump in.
I'll start off and say that I'm a big fan of, I think the word that you used earlier was merit. I think that that's, what it should track. I know we were talking about, for example, some group teams like Memphis and South Florida that jumped into the top 25, and then are they better than teams like Texas and Penn State that recently fell out? Roster to roster, I don't know if they are, but I could see Texas definitely losing to Memphis in a game if they played. I really do, because as we know, we don't play games on paper. We play them out on the field. And so if Texas were to play Memphis, I could see them losing that game.
Yeah, Florida would have loved to play South Florida on paper.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because as you know, the SEC is undefeated in hypothetical matchups.
They are.
So,
Still haven't lost.
right, yeah, so that's, I'm
only.
a big fan of merit. That's why I hate the preseason ranking system. I don't think that anybody should go into the season with a number next to their name. Because you can see, 3 out of the preseason top 4 is no longer got a number next to their name at all. And a lot of that is just because those preseason rankings are for what? To drum up interest.
Right.
And that's what the preseason rankings are for, so that's why I'm a big fan of the merit.
I think that preseason rankings used to have a lot more of a real meaning just because of the coaches poll is really what everything was based off of. And that was the first taste of college football leading into a season was the AP Top 25 coaches poll. Now it's gotten a little bit different because you have journalists voting on it from all across the country, and you can argue whether or not these people are qualified to be doing that. I digress. But let's move on and talk about the AP Top 25 and some of their biggest followers. And like we talked about, Texas, Penn State, and Clemson. Your number 1, your number 2, and I believe your number 8 team in the preseason, all falling out of the top 25 by week 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, we've talked about it. The merit is a huge thing, and I agree with Houston. I think that going into the season, you shouldn't have a number next to whatever team, because you have things like this. You have a Penn State team that loses to a UCLA team that hasn't led for a single second in the Rose Bowl, right? You have a Texas team that has looked shaky on offense and sometimes on defense. You have a Penn State, a Clemson team that has looked terrible all season and gets their first win in a while against the Bill Belichick North Carolina team that is falling apart right now. So I do think that merit plays a huge factor into that.
I'm going to agree with that and continue to build on, kind of what I was talking about earlier. You have to ask yourself, with those 3 teams in particular, how did those teams get that ranking in the first place? I mean, you look at, Texas, they didn't win the national championship next year. Why were they ranked number 1? Because, you could say, okay, Ohio State lost, the running backs or whatever, but Texas arguably lost more than that. So how the heck did they pass up Ohio State in the rankings? Texas, last game, 11 carries for 15 yards for people not named Arch Manning in that game. Clemson, are they even going to make a bowl game this season? I have no idea. I really don't think so. Penn State, when we talk about that incredible run game that Penn State has had with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, they only had 89 yards combined versus UCLA. And those are 2 veteran guys that came back and kind of carried them last year. So you really have to ask yourself, how do these teams even get up there in the first place?
Right, yeah, I think that's valid. Matthew?
I agree. When you talk about who do you think is going to win between this team, you talk about, do you think Texas would beat Memphis, or would Texas beat USF? But you talk about, when you're like, who's going to beat who? But who thought Virginia was going to beat Florida State? After some of their dominant performances early in the season, after beating Alabama, we've seen Alabama's a real deal after beating Georgia and other teams. Going into Missouri this upcoming week, with college football and pro sports, anything can happen. I love what y'all said about these games aren't played on paper, they're played on the field. There's a reason they play the games. There's a reason we don't just go on ESPN or EA College Football 26 and just simulate all the games. That's silly. No, these kids play the game for a reason. Athletes, anything can happen on any given day. You don't know what's going through these people's minds. You don't know athletically what their performance is on the field, if they had a good night's sleep, if they watched film, if they did this, if they didn't do that. But you can't say I think this person's going to beat them, that's when I'm going to rank them higher. With all the preseason rankings, I think you should have the preseason rankings for week 1, maybe week 2, then throw them away. Completely forget about them. Don't even think you filled them out. Because Penn State, they have Drew Aller coming back. They have X amount of guys returning. But besides their brand, why were they number 4? Why were they ranked so high? Let's be real. UCLA 0-4, first-time head coach, interim head coach beats them, gets carried off the field. Who thinks UCLA is beating Penn State? I really wonder what the odds were in that game, what the spread was. It was probably more than 20 points favored.
I think it was 20 and a half.
Yeah, 20 and a half, something like that. It's we can't say, I think this person or I think this team's going to beat that, because in sports, it's unpredictable. You've seen it time and time again where the underdog beats so-and-so. Or when Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey. Now we're talking about UFC here. It's crazy. It's one of the biggest underdogs in UFC history. But it's we can't say, I think this person's going to do that. That's silly. There's a reason why they're playing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what's frustrating is, let's say Florida finds itself in playoff contention somehow. I know they lost 3 games already, but let's say that they win out and they got some tough games on their schedule, so they'll be in those conversations. And let's say Texas never really recovers. Let's say they go 8-4, maybe even 7-5. They're still going to flex a top 10 win, because Texas is number 9, of course, whenever they beat Texas. But is Texas a top 10 team anymore? No, because they went 7-5. So it's at what point do you argue this was a top 10 team, this is a top 10 win, versus they finished 7-5. Was it really a top 10 win? I think that's something that goes back and forth. But then also you don't want to fault them for winning that game. You still did beat a top 10 team, and yeah, Texas isn't ranked anymore, but they're not ranked because we beat them. So it's a give and take. You have to use, there's some nuance to these rankings, like all things. I'll move on. Let's talk about some positives, though. Texas A&M and Ole Miss find their way in the top 5. I don't know if these 2 teams have ever been ranked in the top 5 together in the history of college football. What do y'all think about these 2 teams and where their rankings stand?
We gave Matthew a lot of flack first week of the show for his hype around Texas A&M. And you know what? I got to give you credit, because this team has looked phenomenal. I think Marcel Reed and Kevin Concepcion and Mario Craver have been phenomenal.
I'll push back on Marcel Reed.
Okay, well,
I mean, y'all were all glazing
Well-
Arch Manning. He was y'all's golden boy, and look what he's done.
he still is. But either way,
That's a logical fallacy right there.
either way, I think that Texas A&M deserves to be in the top 5. Ole Miss is a different story. I'm not really sold on them yet. They're 4 right now. I just don't know if I can put them in my own top 4, but I'm not the A people, so I have no jurisdiction over that decision. But I think that Texas A&M absolutely deserves to be in the top 5.
For me, I'm kind of asking the question of, for both of those teams, are these teams actually top 5, or is it just because there's been so much movement and they're both repping that SEC on their chest? In the case of A&M, whether they deserve top 5 or not, dang it if that's not a team that has some momentum right now, though.
Yeah.
With their win over Mississippi State, who's kind of flown under the radar to this point. Now, I will go ahead and quote the great Josh Pate, paper pop stat.
No.
Okay. So Marcel Reed, if you two remember, several weeks ago, I think it was our first live show, when he was praising how he has not turned the ball over. Marcel Reed, since he said that, has thrown an interception every single week. So when they play Florida tomorrow, does this continue? And, maybe we find out that they are a little bit hyped up, or maybe they prove me wrong, and then, they get the win. With Ole Miss, I think more so than A&M that they are a little bit overhyped. It's just the same thing of they're undefeated, and they've got the SEC on their chest, and they got to put somebody up there. And because there's been so much movement, there's been room for them to get in there. So A&M, I'm not entirely sure. I am confident that they're a good football team. I don't know about top 5. Ole Miss, I really don't think is top 5.
Let me give some viewer discretion, because these two have been fighting like old ladies the entire morning, and now Houston's talking on A&M not being that good. These two, I just wanted to give some viewer discretion before Matthew started talking and rebuttaling against Houston. So go ahead, Matthew.
Thanks for shouting that out. But I mean, I heard some on podcast Great Day, like when we talk about this Texas A&M team, there it goes back to a quote by Bruce Lee: "Be like water." You have to conform to whether you're in a cup, a bowl, on the ground, whatever. Be like water. Adapt to your surroundings. I feel like A&M's been able to do that. They've won in a shootout against Notre Dame with one of the best coached teams in Marcus Freeman. They've won in a slugfest to a tough SEC opponent like Auburn. And even though the first half they looked good, I mean, let's be real, it was kind of a blowout. They covered the spread, but they beat them by 22 points. They won in dominant fashion against Mississippi State, who I believe is a top 25 team. I mean, they beat Arizona State. They lost to Tennessee in overtime, a team that beat Georgia, then lost to the number 5 team in the nation. I was kind of dogging on Mississippi State early in the year, but they've been a very good team. I believe they could be they got 2 losses right now, but I believe they are talented-wise a top 25 team. But we've seen this A&M team win in so many ways. Like we see right here, the Notre Dame game, they had a punt block early for a touchdown on the first drive. And then they have Jeremiah Love with just an absolute snag going in the end zone. They're down by 10 points right there, but they come back and they go into the half up by 3 points behind Le'Veon Moss in the offensive line. People were saying A&M, Mike Elko, they're a smash your face, ground and pound type of team. But we've seen the receivers, Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, have so much success, and guys like Terry Busty and Ashton Bethel-Roman also contribute so much. And Nate Borkature on this play right here, we'll see. Oh, what a throw. That wasn't the play. That was a third goal, excuse me. That was Theo Mellon, the guy from Stockholm. I believe, here's a 4th and goal. Turn up Nate Borkature. Oh, game over right there. But we've seen this A&M team win in so many different ways. Ole Miss, they're ranked because people had them hyped in their preseason rankings, and they beat LSU, probably the most disappointing team in the nation, with one of the most lackluster offenses. They still have a great defense, but their coach is Brian Kelly. Come on. Come on. But I do think both these teams are really good. I do think they could be contending for SEC championship, but we will have to see down the line. And I think this is a very tough matchup for A&M against Florida, even though they're home. I think the best thing that could have happened to A&M are in multiple ways, Texas losing and Florida winning, so that they don't just fly under the radar. I think that Texas might have had a little bit of KSAT looking ahead to the Red River rivalry. Oh, that's a tongue twister. And, all the John Mateer mix-up matchup, the Chipotle workers, stuff like that. So I think these teams are good. I think the rankings are a little silly, but I'll give it back to you, Wyatt.
All right, yeah, and I agree with a lot of what Matthew just said. Coming up, we're going to talk about some of our best bets right after these breaks.
Hey UNT students! Looking for creativity and inspiration? The UNT Union Gallery invites you to experience artwork at the art exhibit from your own talented Eagle artists. This free exhibit features a rotating selection of incredible artworks from talented Mean Green artists. Don't miss your chance to experience creativity up close. Stop by anytime during union hours. Want to hear more from the artist yourself? Join us at the Ask and Eat reception, where you can dive deeper into the creative process and enjoy a good conversation over a bite to eat. Don't miss the latest exhibit at the UNT Union. Immerse yourself in the art and be sure to explore the many other exciting exhibits rotating in throughout the semester.
Looking to open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DATCU Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DATCU Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DATCU's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.datcu.org to learn more. DATCU, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. You like money? I like money. Let's try to win some money on those college football games. Our best bets of the week. Josh, I'm actually going to start off. Sorry, Josh. I'm greedy. Cal, minus 12.5 against North Carolina. This North Carolina program is in free fall mode. I mean, it has reached bad levels. Earlier this week, the president and Bill Belichick had to release official statements saying that, hey, we're not going to fire you in the middle of the season, only 6 games in. It's gotten really, really, really ugly at North Carolina. And I also think that Cal has surprised me. This was a team going into the preseason that I thought was going to struggle to make a bowl game, was going to struggle to win maybe even 4 games. I think their team total in the preseason was 3.5. I thought they're going to be a bottom feeder of the ACC. Now, the ACC is so bad that it's kind of propped Cal up just a tiny bit. JKS, the true freshman quarterback, has been an absolute stud for them. I think Cal can cover this, and they can cover it comfortably, especially at home. The next thing I'll talk about is Nevada, plus 7.5 against San Diego State. Jeff Choate, the head coach at Nevada, former linebackers coach at Texas, he is a defensive guy. He's going to bog games down. I don't think there's a lot of separation between these two teams, and because they give you the hook on the 7, I'll take 7.5. Following that up, give me Utah State to cover the 1.5 against Hawaii. I just think that Utah State's an undervalued team. They've lost some close games they shouldn't have, but also they are 5-1 against the spread this year. So give me Utah State to win. And then for my money line sprinkle, I will take the Auburn Tigers over the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know if this one's really going to happen, but if I had to find value somewhere, I like this game because when I'm going down the list of position groups that I like for Georgia and I like for Auburn, defensive line, give me Auburn. Yeah. Running back, wide receiver, give me Auburn. Defensive backs, give me Georgia. But the big problem is quarterback, and that's the reason that Auburn isn't favored in this one. You also get it at home if you're Auburn. So I like the value at plus 144. Josh, what do you got?
Man, who doesn't like money? I mean, if you don't like money, I don't know what's going on. Either way, my first one, I'm going LSU minus 9.5 over South Carolina. Look, this is a 5-1 team that is – the conversation around this team is you would think they're 0-6. I mean, this offense has been abysmal. Brian Kelly is 100% on the hot seat. I think I said it like 2 weeks ago. Either way, the Tigers need to get right game because coming up, they have 3 ranked opponents, 2 of which are Alabama, Texas A&M, both in the top 10. I think they need this win here. Look, South Carolina has struggled. What really LSU does well is in coverage. And for me, I really don't like the South Carolina team. I don't know, maybe it's just because my Southern Cal bias, because the whole
Battle of the USC.
The whole Battle of the USC things. But I digress. I'm not going to get into that right now. Look, they've struggled in pass protection as well, 117th in pass pro. This LSU defense is really good. I really like them going forward for this time. Piggybacking off what Wyatt said, I'm going with Auburn plus 3.5 over Georgia as well. Look, I think that really the battle in the trenches is going to be huge. This Georgia offensive line is very young. This Auburn defensive line is phenomenal. I think they got great weapons. For me, obviously, the battle of the quarterbacks between Jackson Arnold and Gunnar Stockton is going to be a really big thing to watch. Who plays better? Jackson Arnold honestly hasn't played well. He had 10 sacks since Oklahoma a few weeks ago. So for me, that's not going to be a good matchup. But I really like Auburn to come out and win this game. It's a very winnable game for them as well. My third best bet, Arizona plus 1.5 over BYU. This is BYU defense that's been very sturdy. But I think Arizona can get a really nice win. They're coming in 4-1. They're coming off 3 straight 30-point games. Noah Fafita has been phenomenal. 1,341 yards on the year, 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. I really like what the Wildcats are doing. I think they get the upset over BYU. And finally, my money line pick, I'm going to go Florida over Texas A&M. I know they've been phenomenal kind of all season, but the Lagway breakout was last week. Florida looks like they're kind of coming back here. I really think that this Florida team has a really good possibility to walk into Kyle Field and upset them. It's going to be really close, but Florida's only allowed 17 points per game. That's top 26 in FBS. And look, they're just playing well. I think they're kind of back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're talking about who doesn't like money.
Let's
Oh, boy.
yeah, let's highlight this first. Houston, you've kind of made it a trend now to pick some of the earlier games. Last week when we had our Saturday show, you picked some Friday games. This week you picked some Thursday games, and they haven't gone well for you.
It's tradition at this point.
They haven't gone well at all.
This is true.
So let's fan the flames. Let's talk about it. Let's face the fire.
We were talking about, who doesn't like money, so I'm now going to show you how to not win some of it. I guess this is probably the part where Matthew gets me back for the way I did him in the last block. But, I really liked the Sam Houston-Jacksonville State game. I got in on that with Jacksonville State minus 7.5 over Sam Houston. UNT taking Sam Houston's entire defensive coaching staff and all their good defensive players too. They've not looked good all season.
I don't think Sam Houston had covered all year leading up to this.
Exactly.
I think they were winless against the spread.
Well, it's just something about when I pick a game. They had actually. I had the statistic down. They had not lost by less than 17 points all season. They haven't won a game at all, obviously. And the spread was only 7.5. And you can make an argument that one or two of those teams that they already lost to by 3 scores were not as good as Jacksonville State. Like New Mexico State, I think, was also 2-2 or 2-3 at the time that Sam Houston played them.
Yep.
And they lost to them by, I think it was 17. So I really like Jacksonville State there, but they didn't quite cover. They only won by 2. So
Almost lost.
Yeah, I'm aware.
But now we get to move on to the positive part.
Now we get to move on.
The positive part.
Maybe we don't know. These
no,
games haven't happened yet.
You got to speak it into
You got to
existence.
redeem yourself here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna go 3-1.
Yeah, sure.
Drum roll.
So I also picked Iowa State by 3.5 over Colorado. Colorado at this point, has not beaten a power opponent yet. They're 0-4 against power opponents, and Iowa State has looked pretty good. They are fresh off of their first loss of the season, 38-30 against Cincinnati. But I think Cincinnati's a lot better than maybe we thought coming into the season. They aren't ranked yet, I don't believe, but they have looked pretty good. Tawee Walker, the former Oklahoma Sooner, was running over anybody and everybody in that game against Iowa State. And I think that loss is kind of the kick in the pants that Iowa State maybe needed moving forward, so that's why I got in on that one. TCU, I picked them by 1.5 over K-State. Last time I went with TCU, they were without Kavorian Barnes, and that ended up being a bigger deal than I thought. But he's back, and he's playing decent again. Josh Hoover still playing pretty solid over K-State. And K-State, obviously we know with the loss to Army, hasn't looked too great. And the spread, even in Manhattan, I think 1.5 is a bit thin. So that's why I went with TCU by 1.5 over K-State. And for my money line sprinkle, this one's pretty simple. Oklahoma over Texas. I don't understand how even, what Mateer plays, or maybe he doesn't, how, on a neutral field, you got the number 6 team in the country against an unranked team, how, the unranked team is then favored in that. So I thought that one was pretty simple on why I would go with Oklahoma over Texas on that one.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Matthew, what you got?
I got all my picks laid out in front of me. I got them ready to go. But at this point, I might just fade Houston. I might just go against everything Houston said. His track record isn't that good. If he ever makes a bet, which I really hope he does, the day before we go live or something like that, I'll promise I'll bet the other team to cover. So you have my word on that. Let's see if Houston does again. Hopefully he doesn't do some crazy team that goes up against New Hampshire or something like that. But I got my picks lined up, but I might just fade Houston. But to actually go into my real picks, I got Houston minus 14.5
Yeah, look
over.
at that. You got Houston minus 14.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's spelled differently. I got Houston minus 14.5 over Oklahoma State. It pains me to do it, but Oklahoma State has not looked good this year. Zane Flores injured. They got a new quarterback coming in. They lost to teams like Tulsa by 7 points. I think Connor Wigman in that Houston ground game can score more than 14.5 points over Oklahoma State. Pains me to do, but I got to do it. Then next pick, I got UNLV over Air Force. I really like Dan Mullen. I really like what he's doing there. He's 5-0 going against a Air Force team that's 1-4. I'm going UNLV minus 6.5. Then it's kind of tradition. At this point, I'm betting Western Michigan to cover the spread again, minus 9.5 over Ball State. Ball State only has 2 wins this season, one of them coming against a New Hampshire football team only by 5 points. It's not very pretty. Then for my money line sprinkle, I also have the spread on this one. I have Missouri plus 3.5 and at a money line value of plus 126. Missouri's won 15 games in a row at Missouri. I'm a big fan of Eli Drinkwitz. I'm a big fan of Bo Pervola, and they got the #2 leading rusher in all of FBS. So I got Missouri as my money line sprinkle and a cover. Sorry, Amanda, but that's what we're going with.
All right, guys, I like the picks. I think this is good stuff. We'll check to see if we make any money. Hopefully Houston does. Coming up, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the North Texas versus South Florida preview. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space and one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
What's wrong? Are you stuck in your paper?
Pretty much. I haven't written anything in like an hour.
Why don't you check out the Writing Center at UNT?
Well, how do I meet up with them?
All you have to do to make an appointment is visit the Writing Center's website and either call the number or email writingcenter@unt.edu. The appointment is 30 minutes long, and the trained tutors will be able to help with brainstorming, correcting grammar, ensuring clarity, and a wide range of services. They also do walk-in appointments.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna check them out.
So, when's this paper due?
30 minutes.
For more information, visit the UNT Writing Center's website.
Yeah, it's 6 pages.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. And now I get to set the stage for the biggest game in North Texas football history. Coming into this one, South Florida, who took down the Florida Gators in the Swamp with the top 25 ranking, traveled to Denton to take on North Texas. This is the biggest game in North Texas football history for these reasons, and I couldn't be more excited for this one. It's a Friday night game. It's the blackout. Guys, what do you expect from this one? Not just in outcome-wise, but like, what do you expect the environment to be like at DATCU tonight?
It's going to be rocking. I mean, if it's not rocking with 30,000 people, we got a problem. So either way, sold out, it's going to be rocking. I think the environment's going to be really good. I think it's going to affect both teams because I'm sure for the Mean Green, they're like, wait a minute, we're in front of 30,000 people here? Either way, I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great environment. Obviously, being the blackout is going to be sick, so I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of to build on that, we're going to have a sellout crowd, and then also this is kind of a special night for everybody involved in Greek life, who I'm sure will have had plenty of sodas before the game. So I expect at least one section of the stands to be very loud and potentially obnoxious as well.
Matthew, what you
I mean,
got?
I kind of like what Josh said. It's going to be the biggest crowd in front of UNT. I mean, I know South Florida's walked in the Swamp, won there. They've gone on the road and faced tough environments. But how's UNT going to do in front of all these fans? I hope they're not shocked. I don't think they'll be. I think they're excited to have this crowd in front of them. But, you know, I'm excited. I'm going to be wearing black. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be going crazy. I'm going to be watching Drew Messamaker light it up. I'm going to be watching Caleb Hawkins light it up. I'm going to be watching Ethan Wazlowski light it up. And I'm going to be storming the field. Come on now.
Yeah, Matthew just self-incriminated a little bit there.
It don't matter.
I digress. You know, this is something that y'all brought up, and I really do think it's a factor. How is North Texas going to be able to handle this crowd? Which is so weird to say for a home game, but it's real because they haven't played it in front of a stadium like this at DATCU ever. Like, I mean, the whole time that I've been here, time that y'all have been here, DATCU is not filled up. It hasn't even been close to filling up, and now it's going to be sold out. So I think that that's a real factor that's going to be in play. Let's talk a little bit about this game, though. Biggest thing, in my opinion, is going to be stopping the South Florida run. I think everyone that plays South Florida knows that they have to stop the run. It's just a matter of if they can stop the run. North Texas hasn't been able to stop the run against Army. They haven't been able to stop the run against Western Michigan. What do you think is going to be the case for this game?
I think the biggest thing is with stopping Byron Brown. That's an easier thing said than done, but he's been so dominant for this Florida team, not just as a passer, but as a runner. I mean, he's been phenomenal. He's coming off a season-ending injury. Wow. That is a tongue twister. You know, last season, but he's just been phenomenal for the Bulls. I think really limiting his impact, again, so much easier said than done because that guy is built like a freight train. I mean, he bounces off people like nothing in contact when it comes to being in the open field. So limiting him is going to be huge. And honestly leaning into the run game because South Florida's going to blitz.
Yeah.
You know they're going to blitz. They've seen the stats between both Caleb Hawkins and Mackenzie McGill. They're going to try to get to Drew Mestamaker. So for me, those are the two kind of keys for this game.
Yeah, Houston, what about you?
I agree with stopping the run for sure. At this point, UNT is averaging 180.4 yards per game allowed on the ground, which is obviously not great. You know, I highlighted South Alabama, Army, and Western Michigan as kind of the three games that they allowed more than that. They got that average up that high. South Alabama ran the ball 45 times on us, Army 68, and then Western Michigan 57. So we played some very run-heavy offenses, but South Florida's going to be the same thing. I'm looking at it right now. Then when they played Charlotte, they ran the ball 62 times for 407.
Yeah.
Byron Brown by himself was 17 for 162 and 1 touchdown as well. So now, there is the flip side of that, that if you can make him throw the ball, I think that we have the advantage on the outside. This is very much a two-receiver team that we are playing against. And if you can make Byron Brown throw the ball, he will turn the ball over. And he has had the turnover bug a little bit through, 6 games or 5 games for them. He's thrown 4 interceptions, so almost an interception a game. And UNT is turning people over like, clockwork on the defensive side. I also think that it is important offensively that we can run the ball. Something to note, Caleb Hawkins, a little bit banged up early in the week. I did hear he will play today, so we're not without him. But I don't know if he's 100% or not.
Yeah.
I was told it was an ankle soreness type of injury. So I don't know how severe that is or if it was just precautionary. And as Josh said, they're going to blitz the daylights out of us. They bring extra men in pressure around 70% of the time. So Drew Mestamaker, 0 interceptions at this point, but if we can keep him clean, he can keep that up. But it's going to be hard to keep that up if, there's defenders in his lap every play.
Yeah, Matthew, what do you think?
I really like what Houston said. I mean, he talks about that 2-receiver offense, Chaz Nimrod and Keyshawn Singleton. I mean, Keyshawn Singleton's got about 240. Nimrod's got over 400, and their next guy has less than 100. But this may sound silly, and I don't think I've ever said this in my life. We have to make USF multi-dimensional. If they're successful in their one dimension, they're just going to stay one-dimensional. They're just going to pound the rock. They're going to let Byron Brown and all the running backs do their thing. And they're going to run for 300 yards on us. But if we make them multi-dimensional, we will get a couple turnovers. And if we're able to capitalize on those turnovers, we will win the game. If we're successful in the red zone, like we've been over like 95%, was it 96% or something like that?
Yeah.
We will win the game. If we let them be one-dimensional like we let Western Michigan do, I mean, Western Michigan honestly probably should have beat us. They kind of sold it where they sold the game, whatever, we came back, whatever. But they had the game in the lap, and we were able to let them be one-dimensional. But we need to force Byron Brown to throw. We need to force them to take deep shots. We need to get them in 3rd and long situations. And we can't commit penalties. This USF team has been a little penalty prone. And in their game versus Florida, I think Florida outplayed them. I think Florida should have won. But Florida had over 100 yards in penalties, which really docked a lot of their drives and kept a lot of drives for USF open. So I really like what Houston said. He kind of stole all my talking points. It's okay. But, yeah, make them multidimensional, which is kind of crazy to say. I can't really believe I'm saying that, but I'm saying it.
I think the point total on this one is 65.
I thought it was 67.5.
Is it actually?
Yes, it is actually. I'm not just.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Regardless of that, what do you think the score is to, like, what number are these teams racing to? Like, is it the first to 45 wins this thing, or is it the first to 38? Like, what number does the winning team have to reach in order to win this game?
I'll go. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I mean, I don't think there's an exact number. I personally got a weird feeling this game's gonna start off slow. Like, I'm not gonna say there's gonna be 2 3-and-outs back to back, but I think the defenses are gonna be highlighted early in the first quarter. I don't think anyone's gonna get a touchdown on their first drive. We see the UNT defense graphic here, and their ranks them on the American. I mean, if the defense can hold them to under 30 points, which I don't think they will, but if they do, I kind of think it should be a win for UNT.
Yeah.
I think the number if you're going to race that, like you were saying, I think the number to race to is 40, but I'd be surprised if this game's maybe 34 to 37 or 35 to 38 or 31 to 34. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know which spread the team's favored in. I know it's going back and forth, but I think it's going to be a close, like 3 to 5 point game.
Yeah. Houston?
I definitely think that it kind of depends on what UNT does on defense because, as we talked about earlier, we haven't really done well in just fundamentals like forcing teams to punt, that type of thing. Most of our stops have been turnovers. So if we don't ever make them throw the football, probably not going to have success forcing them to fumble, and therefore they won't turnover. So in that case, we would have to race, to 45. But if we do turn them over a couple times, it may be more of a race to like 34 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of agree with what he said about how it could potentially start off slow. Both teams, it's a big game. USF's been there a little bit this season. UNT really hasn't. And if you remember the last time we played a top 25 team, Army, we really hyped up that game, and then it was really a slow-paced game.
Very slow.
So, and that lasted all game. But so I think that at least for the start of this game, I think it'll be a little bit slower as well.
Yeah. I want to throw something out there. Do you guys think that obviously Byron Brown has not run first as much as all the other teams we've played, like Army and Western Michigan? But do you think those two games can kind of serve as those, like pre-games to what this game could be for this defense?
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about Caleb Hawkins and his availability. If he is good to go, I think it adds another layer of this offense and what they can do, because UNT can turn one-dimensional if South Florida forces them into third and longs.
Yeah.
But if Caleb Hawkins can play, and we can have second and manageable or third and short, and we have the power run game to lean on, I think that's kind of a game changer for this UNT offense. We don't have much time left. We're going to have to go to our predictions block. We're going to talk about who we think is going to win this game. We're going to have some controversy on that as well. We're going to have some name calling maybe even. But we'll be right back with our predictions.
Haunted in the depths of NTTV studios. Something special is brewing just for you.
Hey ghouls and goblins, NTTV News is having a special Halloween segment this October 31st. We're also covering 31 days of Halloween in Denton. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be spooktacular.
Craving something fresh, flavorful, and made just for you? Look no further than Avesta, your go-to destination for a delicious, full-service dining experience. Dive into our customizable omelets, expertly crafted by our talented cook Jonathan, who guarantees every bite is perfection. All our dishes are handmade, prepared with only the freshest ingredients. Explore our assembly line where you can choose from any of our globally inspired dishes, or customize your plate. It's that easy. And let's not forget dessert. Indulge your sweet tooth with treats from Clark Bakery. With convenient payment methods including card or flex, it's the perfect dining spot for any occasion. Quench your thirst with our wide selection of drinks. Just hand your drinking card to our friendly waiter, and they'll bring your beverage of choice right to your table. When you're done savoring every last bite, our attentive staff will whisk away your tray. Enjoy the peaceful ambiance as you dine in, or use our takeout option for a meal on the go. Avesta.
I use Flex to buy my favorite snacks.
I use Flex to get me through my mornings.
I use Flex at my favorite campus restaurants. I love how Flex is a cashless payment method and can be used at all campus dining venues.
So, how do you use Flex?
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. Let's get into our predictions right away. First off, Indiana travels to Eugene, Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 7.5 in this one. I have Oregon taking down Indiana. I don't think this one's going to be particularly close. I think that there's levels to this. I think that Oregon is going to elevate, and they're going to show why they are one of, if not the best team in the country at this moment. Josh, I'll give it to you.
I'm also going to go with Oregon. I think that, look, this Oregon team's been phenomenal. Dante Moore's playing at, dare I say, a Heisman level. His poise against Penn State in the whiteout game was really, really impressive. And this Indiana team is good. Look, Fernando Mendoza, Kurt Signetti, they have been phenomenal together as a pairing. But they had 2.5 yards per carry versus an Iowa defense that is not what they used to be. I think Oregon can shut down this run game. Even though they kind of struggled on that earlier in the season, I think if Indiana can't get that run game going, it's going to be really tough in Autzen Stadium. So I'm going Oregon here.
Yep. Well, I'm a little bit higher on Indiana and their versatility. They're fifth in total offense and defense. They're getting 538.2 yards per game on offense, only allowing 221.4. That being said, I'm also going to agree with the two of you and go Oregon. I just think it's going to be a little bit closer than what you led on. I think it's going to be a close game. But I am going to take Oregon. That more-to-more connection is just elite. And then he's got other receivers as well. He's spreading the love with Malik Benson, the Alabama transfer. Yep. Jeremiah McClellan, the other freshman.
Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end. I mean,
Right,
he's one of the best tight ends in the country.
Absolutely. And Oregon's running the football well as well. And then with that being at home, I think that Indiana, obviously not to the extent of Penn State, but I think they're just kind of on that, just not ready to win that big one yet, you know, is really the main reason that I'm going with Oregon in this one.
Yeah. Matthew, what about you?
I agree with a lot of y'all said. I mean, Houston said maybe they're on the same line as Penn State, not ready to win that big one yet. Penn State hasn't been ready to win that big one since James Franklin's been there. It's been waiting way too long. But I'm a big fan of Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Cignetti. They've looked good all year. I mean, they've blown out Illinois, who is a ranked team. But the one game they didn't look good was against Iowa, a road game. They're on the road again. They're traveling far ways away to Eugene, Oregon, to Autzen Stadium. Give me Dan Lanning and Oregon Ducks in this one.
Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, they always say they want to smoke them through the filter. Let's see if Oregon can snuff this one out. Oklahoma and Texas in the Red River Shootout, known by no other name on this show. It's the Shootout of Red River. They're taking on Oklahoma. What you got in this one? Because I got the Sooners.
You know, I think for me the biggest question is John Mateer really going to play? Like, we've seen this for years. Wyatt mentioned it earlier before the show. You know what they did with Dylan Gabriel a few years ago, where they had him go out for pregame warm-ups, and then he was hurt 2 weeks before, and they were like, "Oh no, he's going to play," and then he didn't end up playing. So if John Mateer does somehow end up playing in this game, how effective is he going to be realistically? 2 weeks off of hand surgery, how effective will he be? Now, will he play? I don't think so. Michael Hawkins is probably in line to start. He was all right against Kent State, which was kind of like his warm-up run. He's played in the Red River before. Look, this Texas team is back against the wall. They need something to salvage this season. And at the end of the day, they can easily match up well against Oklahoma, especially defensively. At the end of the day, this offense has been really, for lack of better words, not great. Kind of abysmal. The run game was not good last week with Mitchell Weiser coming back. Either way, you can take everything I just said. Pretend it's all on this piece of paper here, right? Just pretend everything I just said. All you do is you sit here, you throw it away because it doesn't matter. I'm going with Texas.
Okay. Interesting take there. I am going to agree with what Wyatt said and go with OU, regardless of if Mateer plays. I'm just not impressed with the way Texas looks at this point. They do not have a running back averaging, I believe, over 4.5 yards a carry, which is obviously not great. They're one-dimensional, and with the way the offensive line looked, you can say what you want about Arch Manning. He's not going to get any better if he can't have time to set his feet and throw the ball, and he's throwing off his back foot all the time. Yeah. You know, he's playing like I see the intramural quarterbacks playing in flag football, like, you know, with no time to throw at all. Now, in favor of Texas here, it does sound like Parker Livingston is going to be back and available for him, which at this point has been his #1 target. For Oklahoma, if Michael Hawkins is ready, you know, going to be the guy. He was 19 of 30 for 148 last season against Texas, 20 carries for 27 yards. That's obviously not great. I'm looking for this to be an extremely low-scoring game, obviously, but I am still going to take the Sooners to get revenge on Texas today.
Yeah, Matthew.
I like what Houston said about maybe the low-scoring game. I see it maybe being 23-17 or 23-20, 20-17, something like that. But, you know, there's these message boards around college football. There's one specific called Tex Ags, made by Billy Lucci.
The luchador.
Yeah. There's apparently some kid who's a son of a guy who's on Tex Ags who is in Norman, works at Chipotle, saw Mateer, asked Mateer, "Hey, you playing against Texas?" Mateer said, "I'll be there." So
he will be there in street clothes.
Yes, he'll be there. He'll be there. But he said he's going to play. But just based off the message boards, I'm going to go OU. The kid from Chipotle, I'm believing in him. So we'll see where that works out. I'm going OU.
Is he throwing passes?
I'm going to take history.
He's whipping up the burritos. That's what he's doing.
I'm going to take history over the Chipotle worker. I don't think John Mateer's going to play in this one. They're going to give you all the fluff and make you think the Mateer is good to go. The kid had hand surgery on his throwing hand just over 2 weeks ago. There's just no way that he plays. And if he does, he's not going to be an effective passer. I think they roll out Michael Hawkins. They moved practice from outside to the indoor facility this week. And you know what their excuse was? The weather. It's hot. It's too hot. It's too hot for those poor kids. You know, they got to get them inside. Definitely not hiding the fact that John Mateer hasn't practiced all week, so we'll have to see.
I believe in the Chipotle boy. Come on. They make my burritos good.
Let's move on. We'll talk some more SEC football. Alabama takes on Missouri. They go on the road for this one. I'm not too keen on picking road games, especially in the SEC, but I think Alabama's a clear tier above the Tigers, and so I got the Tide in this one. Josh, what about you?
I agree. I think Alabama's resurgence this season has been phenomenal. You know, Kalen DeBoer is 13-2 when it comes to rank on ranked teams. I think this Alabama team is playing really well. I think Jeremy Bernard is really good. I think moving around Ryan Williams, I don't know why they haven't done that before. Moving him around in the slot on the outside has been really good. Ty Simpson, been playing really well the last few games, had a really nice game versus Vanderbilt, and obviously against Georgia in Athens. I'm going Alabama.
I'm also going to go with Alabama. Ty Simpson, against Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt, an even more improved version of Vanderbilt than last season, as a top 25 win for them. He still went 23 of 31 for 340, a couple touchdowns, and his first interception of the season. 13 touchdowns to 1 interception on the season. He's taking great care of the ball, which I think is important. Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, incredible receiver duo for him to help him out with that. I think that the only way Mizzou wins this game is that they have a man by the name of Ahmad Hardy, who is second in FBS in rushing yards at 730 right now on only 103 carries at 7.1 yards per carry. He's got 9 touchdowns in just 5 games. So I think that Hardy's going to have to go for potentially over 2 bills for them to win this game. But I am going to go with the Tide.
Yep, Matthew.
I mean, Missouri should have all the momentum going in. It's when Alabama's proved that they're the real deal. Missouri hasn't lost a home game in 15 games. They got Bro Pabula out of the portal from Penn State. He's looked elite. Eli Drinkwitz is a great coach, in my opinion, one of the most underrated coaches in the nation. Of course, as Houston highlighted, they got one of the best and second leading rushers in all of FBS. He's looking really, really good. I think Missouri can pull this one off, but Alabama's looked super duper good this past 2 weeks. I think they're the real deal. I think the Florida State game was kind of a little, just whatever, mess up, slip up, if you will. I think they were thinking of Florida State as 2-10 Florida State, not as the Florida State of old under Mike Norvell. I think they're really good, and I think Alabama's going to pull this one off and break the 15-game winning streak at home for Missouri.
All right, let's travel up north. Actually, let's travel out west and talk some Big Ten football. God, that feels weird to say. USC takes on Michigan. This is not at the Big House. This is in L.A. I got USC in this one. They need this. This is in a good spot for them as well. I also need Michigan to lose a couple more games. So I got the Trojans in this one. Josh, I think I have an idea where you're going to go with this one.
Shocker. I'm going with USC. Look, this team got punched in the mouth against Illinois. They lost their starting center in that game, and they got a walk-off field goal crowd storm in Champaign. Either way, look, this team needs this win. They got knocked out of the top 25 for Virginia when they beat Florida State. That's got to make them a little mad because they are clearly a better team than Virginia. We talked about the AP poll earlier. But my point being here, this USC team needs a win. This Michigan team is very good, but I do think that the passing attack with Jaden Mayava, with Malachi Lemon, Jacoby Lane's back a little bit more fully healthy. Wayman Jordan in the run game has been phenomenal. The JUCO Heisman winner, great.
Yeah, he can play.
He can play. That guy's a baller. I think even though the offensive line will be a little mismatched, I think that USC pulls it out in the Coliseum.
Yeah, Houston.
I'm going to agree with that and go with USC in this one, and my reason is this. I think that USC has the ability to be multidimensional on offense with Jaden Mayava in the pass game and the run game as well, versus where Michigan much more one-dimensional with Justice Haynes, kind of running. I don't think Bryce Underwood is ready to carry a team on the road. You see Jaden Mayava with 70% completion, 11-1 touchdown to INT. He's taking great care of the ball. So I'm going to go with USC because of the dimension aspect.
Yeah, Matthew.
You'll see what color I'm wearing?
Amazing blue.
Yeah,
no
blue
maze.
tie, blue accents on the shirt, blue jacket. Give me blue. Give me Michigan. Get a point up on y'all in this game.
Let's skip forward. Let's talk about the main event. North Texas versus South Florida. Y'all are going to be so mad at me. They've been giving me crap about this all morning. They say I'm not a real UNT fan. They say I'm cursing us. Guys, the curse is when everyone picks the exact same. That's when it's cursed. That's whenever teams lose. I know that hasn't been the case in North Texas this year, but, they haven't played a team with a pulse yet. Give me South Florida to come into Denton and spoil the Friday night blackout game. Give me the Bulls to take down the Mean Green. Book it. This is how I'm getting a point up, Matthew. You're in the Michigan game. Give me South Florida over UNT.
I mean, I don't know how I follow that. But all I'm saying is our curse between us, all 4 of us, hasn't really come in yet because we've all picked UNT and they're 5-0. I'm just saying. It's there.
I agree, Josh.
Either way, I'm going UNT. The stakes with this game is where they want to be. This team wants to be in the American Athletic Conference Finals. They want to be in the playoffs. You get there by beating USF right now. Because then you're going to rely on beating Navy later in the season, and you're not really sure where they're going to be. For me, I think with the stakes, selling out DATCU, I'm going UNT. I think it's going to be really close, but I think they just edge out USF.
Well, I think for me the big thing that you got to look at is earlier, Wyatt, you talked about in the AP poll block how when you're kind of grading somebody's resume, do you freeze those rankings and talk about what the team that they beat was ranked at the time that they beat them, or do you talk about what they're ranked in the present?
Right.
And so South Florida has 2 ranked wins over Florida and Boise State. But Boise State, we all know that they were not really deserving of a ranking without Ashton Genty, and Florida has got a losing record.
Yep.
So I think that South Florida might even be a little bit overrated than what we're rating them. You know, we talked about Byron Brown and his ability to run the football with 162 on the ground. I believe that makes up more than 50% of his rushing yards on the season. And we talked about how they're going to blitz us. They only have 9 sacks all season. Mac Harris has 4 by himself, so we have to get a body on him for sure. But I think that UNT and their ability to spread the ball around with how close there are, I think 7 receivers for UNT that have like over 200 receiving yards or something like that. Versus where, like we talked about earlier, with South Florida just being kind of a 2-receiver team. So I'm going with UNT because of their versatility and also not just in the pass game, but in the run game as well with Caleb Hawkins and Mackenzie McGill. I'm looking for UNT to have a big day offensively.
Matthew?
All right. I want y'all to get a little bit of a solo shot on Wyatt Schott here. Can we get that up real quick?
Yeah, no, let's see it. Let's see it.
This guy, he's the host of Mean Green Game Day.
That's right.
He's a sports associate for North Texas Television.
That's right.
Whoa, sorry. Hold on there. Whoa. But UNT, what are we doing? Revoke this guy's enrollment. Take his scholarship. He's not a believer. Oh, the curse. We're 5-0, Wyatt. What are we doing? I don't know why this guy's not a believer. I mean, unbelievable. I'm insanely disappointed. The host of Mean Green Game Day, Wyatt Schott, assistant sports director from North Texas Television. What are we doing?
Listen.
Hey, no.
Hold on.
Give me UNT. We're storming the field. I don't care what this guy's got to say over here. I don't care. Messamaker, freshman, walk on. He's winning this game. We're getting ranked. Boo Wyatt. We'll replace him with someone else. I don't know. Maybe Houston will go in that chair for all I know. But yeah, give me UNT. Boo Wyatt. I don't know what he's doing. Unbelievable.
You can call me a lot of things.
I will.
You can't call me biased. I'm trying to be unbiased. I'm trying to be practical. I'm trying to apply my knowledge. I just think South Florida's the better football team.
I think you're trying to be unloyal and trying to get a point up on us because, UNT, this is the toughest opponent they play. I'm going to get a point up on the panel. I'm not going to be loyal to my college. I'm not going to be loyal to my university. What the HE double hockey stick are we doing? Wyatt Schott. Unbelievable.
If North Texas wins this one, I won't pick against them for the rest of my life.
Bookmark that. Yeah, whenever we're in the college football playoff and we're playing against Texas A&M or something like that, bookmark that whenever we're
pick against them.
Unbelievable.
All right, we have to wrap things up. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Mean Green Game Day. Follow us on our socials at NTTV Sports on Instagram, and thank you so much for watching.